Reports that Cathay Pacific will announce mass layoffs and corporate restructuring tomorrow. A new coronavirus infection in the city breaks a 3-day streak of no local cases of a known origin. Wales imposes a strict 2-week lockdown amid the pandemic. Hello, good evening, and welcome to TVB News. There are reports that Cathay Pacific may announce a business restructuring plan tomorrow morning. The airline is said to be planning to cut 6,000 jobs and close its Cathay Dragon brand in order to stay afloat. Sharon Tang has more.
According to sources, Cathay may make an announcement tomorrow morning and hold a press conference in the afternoon. Sources say the airline would close its Cathay Dragon brand. The flights operated by Cathay Dragon would be taken over by Cathay Pacific. The shift would involve commercial aviation rights, and the company would hold talks with civil aviation authorities both in Hong Kong and the mainland. Some of Cathay Dragon's pilots would join the Cathay Pacific team. What remains unknown, according to sources, is the way forward for Cathay's subsidiary airline, Hong Kong Express. The city's flagship carrier is believed to be laying off 6,000 staff members globally, with 5,000 of them being local workers. Some 4,000 of the employees to be made redundant are said to be cabin crew members. Meanwhile, the remaining employees would face salary cuts. The more senior, the greater the reduction in pay. Those who don't have to take a pay cut may have to continue to take no pay leave next year. Sources added that with the uncertainties of the global pandemic, it's possible there could be more layoffs in the future. Sharon Tang, TVB News.
The city added 5 new cases to its coronavirus tally. 4 were imported cases. The single local case involves a female clerk whose office has now been evacuated for disinfection. Among today's 5 cases, 4 are imported from India, the United Kingdom, Russia, and France via Amsterdam. The remaining case is a local infection with an unknown source of origin. The patient is a 32-year-old clerk residing at the Grand Promenade in Saiwan Ho. On October 16th, she experienced symptoms including hot and cold flushes. 2 days later, she visited a private doctor who did not perceive her condition as a case of COVID, but advised her to get screened for the virus. A test at the Henry G. Long Yalmate Community Center eventually returned positive. During the transmission period, the woman ate with family members. Including those sharing a flat with her, 5 to 6 are now required to undergo quarantine. There are also 2 to 3 close contacts from her workplace at One Island East. With about 100 other staff working on the same floor, authorities have so far ordered the office's temporary closure for disinfection. Test arrangements are also underway. With seasonal influenza compounding threats imposed by the coronavirus pandemic, inoculation against the flu is pivotal for many now more than ever.
Every year, people would take vaccine in November, December, or even later. But this year, everybody has been very vigilant.
As private doctors worry over the jabs shortage, the health chief revealed plans to ensure sufficient supply.
If the government is going to work with the vaccine suppliers to give them, some of the additional vaccine supply, then, first of all, they cannot charge extra to their patients. And secondly, they would have to give those vaccines to the priority groups that the government have designated.
Starting this Friday, the government will be relaxing measures for wedding ceremonies and tour groups, but other restrictions like the wearing of masks and a ban on public gatherings of more than 4 people will remain. Pinki Wong tells us more.
Good news for brides and grooms-to-be. Starting on Friday, couples can have up to 50 people attend their wedding ceremony, though food and drinks will not be permitted. Currently, only 20 guests are allowed. For wedding banquets, the number of people per table will continue to be limited to no more than 4. Starting October 23rd, local travel tours will also be exempted from the gathering ban. Up to 30 people, including tour guides, will be allowed to be in each group. That's a major increase from the previous limit of 4. Our local tours must be registered with the Travel Industry Council and sign an agreement on infection control measures. They include keeping tour vehicles at 50% capacity and purchasing travel insurance for customers.
For the individual travel agents, in the undertaking, they promise to do things such as heightening the sort of awareness by requiring all the participants to wear masks throughout, or providing sanitization, doing cleaning, and also sort of enforcing these rules. But most important, I think the responsibility falls on the agents, the travel agents. If they sort of violate the undertaking, there would be provisions, including not being allowed to continue their registration with TIC. That means they will be deprived of the subsidies that they are supposed to enjoy under the Green Living Local Tour scheme or the Spend to Redeem program that is going to launch by the Tourism Board.
Businesses will also be allowed to hold larger meetings. The quota will be raised from 20 to 50 people. Currently, public swimming pools can only be at 50% capacity. Starting Friday, team sports involving more than 4 players will be permitted to train in swimming pools. Pinki Wong, TVB News.
Over in Europe, a second wave of COVID-19 infections has authorities scrambling to contain it. In the UK, Wales has imposed a strict 2-week lockdown where everyone but essential workers must stay home. Tang has more.
The UK is facing a surge in new COVID-19 infections, with almost 17,000 new cases recorded in the span of 24 hours on Sunday. Wales reported 950 cases, up from just 400 at the beginning of the month. Its government has decided to impose a 2-week firebreak lockdown starting Friday.
Between Friday, the 23rd of October, and the 9th of November, everyone in Wales will be required to stay at home. This means working from home wherever that is possible, and the only exceptions will be critical workers and jobs where working from home is simply not possible.
All non-essential retail, leisure, hospitality, and tourism businesses must close. Places of worship will be shuttered except for funerals or weddings.
And how much more the businesses can cope. These places are just not going to survive another lockdown, I don't think.
Meanwhile, the UK Communities Secretary has hit out at authorities in Manchester for failing to act. He said they have until Tuesday at noon to reach an agreement over COVID restrictions as the situation is deteriorating. Local officials are resisting as they say the government isn't offering enough financial aid. Meanwhile, in France, the office of the French president announced French First Lady Brigitte Macron will self-isolate for 7 days after coming into contact with someone who tested positive for COVID-19. Over in Spain, nearly 38,000 new cases were reported Monday. In response to the surge, regional officials across the country have announced tighter restrictions. In Belgium, a nighttime curfew took effect Monday, and bars and restaurants across the country were shut down for a month. The latest rules come as health authorities warned of a possible tsunami of new virus cases in the nation. Tang, TVB News.
China's Ministry of Science and Technology says the mainland is leading in terms of its research on COVID-19 vaccines. The ministry says all 13 new coronavirus vaccines have entered clinical trials. 4 of them are in phase 3, where 60,000 people have been vaccinated with no negative reactions reported. More than 600 million doses of the vaccines are expected to be produced by the end of the year. The National Health Commission also assured that the public will be able to afford the vaccinations once they're widely available in the market.